They are Kirk Fauver from the actually Federal Highways Division office in Texas, where Kirk has served for 37 years and currently oversees TxDOT's State Planning and Research, or SPR Part B program. In his role, he supports research in statewide planning programs, manages the Metropolitan Planning Organization, has oversight, I should say, and advances innovation through the Texas State Transportation Innovation Council / Everyday Counts Initiative. Kirk earned a BS and a master's degree in civil engineering from the University of Louisville, and is a graduate of FHWA's Leadership Development Academy. In collaboration with Kirk is Tomas Lindheimer. He is the engineering lead for the engineering support under traffic management. He has been with TxDOT for almost 3 years. Before working for TxDOT, he worked for the Texas A&M Transportation Institute, better known as TTI, and the City of College Station. He obtained his PhD degree in civil engineering from the University of Kansas, and he received his master's and bachelor's degree from Utah State University, where true Aggies come from. So Kirk will offer a high-level overview of TxDOT's wrong-way driving efforts, and Tomas will delve into the implementation of the systems in Texas. So without further ado, Kirk, I believe you're first.
Thank you, Jim. I'm based here in Austin, Texas, and again, I'm with Federal Highway Texas Division. We consider wrong-way driving a serious issue. There's a lot of crash deaths in the Texas area. Between 2015 and 2018, we've averaged about 77 wrong-way driving deaths per year. And during that same period, over that 4 years, we've had 309 wrong-way crash deaths. But more recently, TxDOT's reported between 2018 to 2022, they've recorded more accidents, 362 crashes with wrong-way drivers on one-way roads that resulted in fatalities. About 90 average per year are dying on our roads due to wrong-way driving. So next slide. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, wrong-way driving is a low frequency but a high severity issue in terms of crashes and fatalities here in our state. The goal is to reduce and prevent wrong-way driving incidents on Texas roadways. So we've partnered between TxDOT, TTI, and the Texas State Transportation Innovation Council and local public agencies to help evolve the program to come up with mitigation strategies. Next slide. So why does it matter? I just mentioned the statistics. We're averaging about 90 fatalities per year, but they often result in serious injuries. Most occur at night due to driving while impaired, and they happen on freeways, high-speed principal arterials and interstates. It's a data-driven hotspot identification. We mentioned earlier that identification of where these are occurring are necessary to map out in GIS and identify mitigation at those spot locations. Next slide. So through leadership and partnerships with TxDOT, with our division office here in Austin, the Texas State Transportation Innovation Council, and of course, Texas A&M Transportation Institute, we're working together to provide technical assistance and funding, looking at adoption of innovative countermeasures and performing peer exchanges on traffic incident management and wrong-way driving in our state with the help of our Texas STIC. Next slide. So these are some of the engineering countermeasures that we often use nowadays. They're low-mounted signage, do not enter wrong-way signs that are flashing, enhanced pavement markings and arrows, retro-reflective pavement markings for orienting the wrong-way driver and identifying when that occurs, and geometric modifications, engineering design to improve ramps. Next slide. So these are the technology countermeasures that are in place now. LED, enhanced wrong-way signage for lighting, thermal, radar, and video detection systems, closed caption TV systems, dynamic mesh signs, and also traffic management centers. We've got a number of them in the large transportation management areas, over 200,000 population here in Texas. Next slide. So these are the traffic management centers that I mentioned earlier in San Antonio with the TransGuide, Houston with the TransStar, and Dallas-Fort Worth in the NCT COG area. And also in Austin, we're looking at deployments in high-risk corridors once they've been identified as hotspots. Next slide. So results and lessons learned from the state, looking at the significant reduction at treated locations. We found some excellent results when we go in and approach it with a layered approach with engineering, technology, behavioral improvements, signage, for example, and pavement markings. There's a need for ongoing calibration, maintenance, and monitoring operations to make sure it's kept up to date. And public education, community outreach is essential with TV ads and multimedia use of social media and other types of outreach efforts. Next slide. This is just a summary of the benefits based on the mitigation strategies that we've seen as examples in Texas. It goes all the way from San Antonio to Houston to Dallas-Fort Worth. TxDOT has some impaired driving campaigns. There's been some technology deployed in Austin, thermal radar fusion. And we're supporting it with funding from the Highway Safety Improvement Program, which is funded out of the IIJA. TTI, Texas A&M Transportation Institute, has done numerous research studies to inform TxDOT of the high-risk areas and mapping them out in GIS. And of course, the State Transportation Innovation Council, we work with, as part of Everyday Counts, to spread the word on what the best strategies, best management practices are across the state to all the 25 TxDOT districts. Next slide. So these are the funding opportunities and planning opportunities. I mentioned the Highway Safety Improvement Program as part of the state highway safety planning process. We look at prioritization of projects that are safety related under PM1, the performance management rule. We bundle quarter projects. We look for cost efficiencies and building in safety implementation, as well as within the larger project. And we have a pilot to program approach. As things are found out that work well in one area, we try to spread it through technology transfer to other areas of the state that may use that same methodology. Next slide. So future directions, future technologies, look at AI, next generation sensors, statewide dashboards, event data, real time, automated enforcement feasibility, trying to get the first responders out as soon as possible, police, state police, to get them out and the wrong way driver out of harm's way and off the road. And also we support national peer exchanges throughout the state and throughout other state DOTs through the National State Transportation Innovation Council network. Every state has a stick. Next slide. So these are some references. If you get a copy of the presentation, there's links to those areas for reference for future information, for additional information. Next slide. And this is my contact information. If you'd like to know anything more about what you've heard today, feel free to give me a call or send me a quick email. And that's my presentation. I'll send it back to Jim. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Kirk. Excellent information, data, and again, another topic that is very worthwhile in terms of mitigation countermeasures that your state actually has been doing. I believe you had mentioned like 10 years now when you guys started really attacking the problem of wrong way driving. But I'm hearing Federal Highways hearing more and more about these very, very dangerous, like you said, low frequency, but high, how should I say, high, or deadly uh, for fatalities, obviously, and injuries alike. It's a big deal, and we need to stay focused on it and continue to do everything we can um, to try to fight this this situation. So next up is Tomas Lindheimer. Take it away, Tomas.
All right. Thank you, Jim. Um, I will be talking about um, TxDOT roadway driving initiatives. Just so you all know, I'm kind of dealing with a bad cough, so I'll try to not cough into the mic. But I apologize for that in advance. Next slide. So for those of you that don't know, in the eyes of TxDOT, Texas is divided to 25 districts. For this presentation and for the sake of time, I'm gonna focus on just 3 districts and their runway driving efforts. So first I will be talking about Fort Worth, then San Antonio, then El Paso, and I'll just give you a brief summary. Next slide. All right, so first is Fort Worth. So in September of 2015, the Fort Worth district with TTI, they created a report to look at runway driving countermeasures and create a plan. And in that report, they analyzed data from crashes and also from 911 reported events, and they identified prioritized corridors where to deploy countermeasures. So starting in April of 2016, that's when they started testing more ITS technology-based deployments, countermeasures. And then in June 2016, they focused on I-30 because that was the priority corridor. And since then, the program has grown to implement more technology-based countermeasures throughout the district and corridors like state highways, Interstate 820, and such. Next slide. So it wasn't just technology-based, but they also implemented some traditional, typical deployments with lowered signs and do not enter signs. That effort was more focused on on-ramp locations along State Highway 360. They also would put reflective pavement arrows to point to the driver the correct direction of traffic flow and reflective tape on the signpost. Most of these deployments, again, the focus was exit ramps. Next slide. As far as technology, they implemented some TAPCO LED signs with I-30 being the focus area for 24 ramps. They use dual radar detection and HD cameras that will record up to 1 to 4 minute video clip and still images to confirm that it was a wrong way driving event. Next slide. And the need for that camera, and even with all those dual detectors, they will still have many false positives. Sometimes the sun would throw off some of the systems, construction, lawn mowers going the wrong way but on the shoulder would trigger a system or a false alarm. If it was a video-based system, trains would also make it set off, lighting systems. So very, very sensitive systems. And I will talk about how they have worked their way to mitigate those later in the presentation. Next slide. So now moving on to San Antonio. And San Antonio, in 2011, there was the program started with a tragedy when a San Antonio police officer named Stephanie Brown was killed in the line of duty by a wrong-way driver. So San Antonio created a runway driving task force in the spring of 2011. And this task force was to identify high-risk locations and investigate prior runway driving research, review countermeasures, and identify other countermeasures could be deployed. Next slide. So as part of that program, they verified that all exit ramps met the minimum treatment requirements, meaning they at least had do not enter signs and runway driving signs. And then in some ramps, they put flashing runway signs. They also added reflective tape and on whatever do not enter runway sign was posted. And then they started deploying a runway driving technology, just like Fort Worth. And also they created a runway driving alert system, which sends notifications to drivers via text message or email to a dedicated group that signs up for it via TransGuide. Next slide. They also started monitoring main lanes. So they put blankout runway driving signs and radar. So whenever a runway driver is detected on the main lane, those signs will come on. Next slide. And along with that, all of these systems are integrated into our ATMS, which is called Lone Star. So that whenever there's a runway driving alert or a report, there's a message displayed on a dynamic message sign on the highway telling drivers that there's a runway driver. So it doesn't give you any instructions on what to do, it just tells you there's a runway driver ahead. And once that report is made and that sign comes on, the operator searches for the vehicle using the cameras along the highway. Next slide. And then, so once the DMS is active, it is a little flowchart to tell you how the event is handled and how it ends. So the operator looks at the highway to identify the runway driver. Also, the DMC operator can try to contact the hero dispatcher and also San Antonio PD or a hero worker on the road to identify the driver. And also the SAPD dispatcher provides a two-way communication to officers and the TMC. And once the event is over or the driver was not identified, then the event ends. Next slide. And again, just like in San Antonio, just like in Fort Worth, they have to monitor very closely some of those false alerts. Some systems are even more sensitive. For example, if a stray dog is walking the wrong way or a biker's on the shoulder, that will trigger the system. Next slide. The same with street cleaning and lawn mowing operations. Next slide. So moving on to El Paso. El Paso took another approach, which was to develop their own runway driving countermeasure guidelines. And they developed them in April of 2022. Along with those guidelines, it specifies to create a task force or a review board and to reach out to other agencies outside of the DOT. So look at 911 call centers, your local PD, cities, on how to address the problem and kind of meet on a monthly basis or a bi-monthly basis to review runway driving incidents. Also with those guidelines, they developed an inventory checklist to kind of set a baseline of where the infrastructure is at. And then it also prioritized countermeasures going to a level, and I'll elaborate more on that on the next slide, please. So in the runway driving countermeasure guidelines for El Paso, they kind of divide countermeasures into three levels. The first level is, just having static signs, having the pivot and marking there. They call it enhanced TMTCD. And level 2 is adding flashing signs, adding more signs, maybe lowering the signs, putting reflective tape, improving the lighting condition at ramps and intersections so that people know actually more where they're at. And those are considered to be low cost countermeasures. Level 3 is more of your technology based, intelligent transportation system, adding cameras and DMSs and all that type of countermeasure. Next slide. But before deploying all of that, they created this inventory list so that they know where all the exit ramps are at and what kind of hardware there is already out there. So in this inventory is for all exit ramps, and it asks for details on the interchange. It asks for signage, pavement markings, lighting conditions. If there's any ITS infrastructure, so it'd be easier to put in a level 3 countermeasure, the geometry of the interchange, and if there is already a runway driving detection system with a detector there. Next slide. So once they had, they were deploying as needed, all these countermeasures, they already had the guidelines, they had their inventory. Another step that they took is they worked together with the Texas A&M Transportation Institute, TTI, to look at and prioritize locations. So it was a systemic method of looking of where the enhanced, the level 3 countermeasure should go, and they prioritized that by risk. They did a proximity analysis of the exit ramp. So if there's an exit ramp, they drew a 2-mile radius, and they looked at how many crashes there were. Also, they looked at how many alcohols sales there were during that area, how many 911 calls were within that 2-mile radius, and what the volume was around the vehicle volume was on that corridor in that 2-mile radius to prioritize locations. Next slide. So overall, the results for El Paso, the report have been fairly positive. So from 21 to 2022, just to give you a little references on the CAPCO scale. So the red is K for killed, A is for serious injury. So in this map is showing 75 out of 81 runway driving crashes in the El Paso district. And they experienced, at least one fatality, 3 in 2022, 2 in 2021. And then about 2 years after developing the guidelines and trying to attack this problem head on. So from 2024 till now, in 2024, there were no fatalities, just 2 serious injuries. And again, instead of 81 crashes, only 26. And they experienced just 1 serious crash and 1 fatality for now in 2025. Next slide. So in summary, runway driving strategies from a strategic point of view, you got to recognize that it will be a multi-year effort. Also a multi-agency effort. It kind of a lesson learned is that we realize that it's not just the DOT that should be involved in all of this. It's more of a community that needs to answer to this problem. It's good to also make inventory a part of your strategy to see where you're at, and then what else you can do and where you can expand. And it's very important to determine locations because runway driving systems are not necessarily cheap, in particular the ones that are detection-wise, and require some technology. So it's good to kind of hone in on your problem spots. Next slide. As far as the hardware goes, the hardware needs to be still refined. If you have a single point radar, you're still going to have a lot of false positives. Dual radars of, 2 radars or more they reduce those false positives. Doesn't mean you're not going to get any, but it will reduce those. It's also good to have a camera nearby. So the TMC operator can verify that there's a runway driver, and also they will start trusting the alert system a little bit more. Other ideas that we're looking at in the future, here at TxDOT, we're looking at video analytics and also at LiDAR systems. And other things that we're thinking about doing or starting to develop in the future is looking for new ways to alert drivers, like using help alerts and things like that. That's an ongoing effort. And based on the district's experience, we're also looking into developing some statewide guidelines, but that's an ongoing effort too right now, so I can't go into many details as of yet. So next slide. So thank you guys for your time, and that's my contact info if you have any other questions outside of this session. Thank you.
What advice might you offer to other metropolitan regions considering wrong-way driving safety strategies?
I'd like to try to answer that question, Jim, if I could.
Please, go
Uh,
ahead.
in the metropolitan planning process, we have something called performance-based planning and programming. And there's PM1, PM2, PM3. PM1 is safety, PM-1. And as part of the transportation performance management efforts, projects are supposed to be prioritized on these based on the needs for the region. So MPOs that have a safety need and it's a high priority, they can add additional points to their project selection process to move those projects up higher in the project list in both their MTP, their long range plan, and their short range program, the TIP. And they can do that leveraging that PM1 data, the targets that they adopt, and the criteria used for project selection to move those projects and advance safety and improvements to wrong way driving if necessary. I hope that helps.
Yeah, absolutely. Folks, as Kirk offered, and to any of our presenters, if you have any other inquiries or questions, technical or otherwise, please feel free to reach out to our presenters. I have another one for the wrong way driving presenters has any of the regions conducted a cost benefit assessment of the implementation?
Tomas, do you have any
To my
thoughts?
awareness, no, to be honest with you.
Okay.
That might
I
be
know,
something that we can consider doing in the future, though, as we have more and more systems being implemented and we have more of a grasp of their effect.
I know in Tomas, in San Antonio, TxDOT's partnered with TTI to develop benefit cost ratios. And it looks like the benefit costs are around range from 11.5, 12 to 1 to 14 to 1. And actually looking at project cost savings in the thousands based on what they've done to put in wrong way, do not enter ramp radars, enhancing the signing and markings, lower cost projects. So there is a large benefit to cost improvement based on the TransGuide data that we've gotten from TxDOT and TTI. Another one was in Houston. They've looked at ramp-based wrong-way driving detection on tollways. There's no published BC ratio, but there's also some research reports that are put out by Research and Technology Implementation Division of TxDOT. One of them was Project 0-7119, and they've looked at economic benefit frameworks on how to run local benefit cost analysis with districts, but there's not a single statewide benefit cost figure for those types of projects. And also the TxDOT RTI's project number 0-6769. They looked at the effectiveness of the San Antonio's benefit cost program, case studies, and while it doesn't present a single benefit cost number, it documents how the crash incident reductions were found based on that low cost to low cost countermeasures. So those are some examples I found.
Yeah. And important information. Thanks for sharing that, Kirk and Tomas. Ladies and gentlemen, do not forget that the Talking Tim webinars are recorded. So I'm sure, I'm sure most of you think about wrong way driving. I hope you do. I have had the unfortunate circumstance of witnessing a couple over the past many years. So I'm constantly warning my family and friends about wrong way driving, drivers, I should say. And it's amazing how all of a sudden around a curve, day or night, and you heard Kirk share the fact that most of these incidents occur at night, I believe. You could be staring at a vehicle coming at you. So I want to ask again, here's another wrong way driving incident. Then I wanted to ask Michael Koski about a question regarding the, just to give you a heads up, Michael, piercing nozzles. But let me ask this question that came from Saran Becker. How do right way drivers typically react when reading about a wrong way driver incident? Have you ever observed erratic behavior or drivers deciding to fully stop on the freeway? Kirk or Tomas?
I don't work at the TMC, so I haven't observed how drivers react. So I cannot really
Yeah,
answer the question, but um, we had a TISMO summit not too long ago, and somebody in the audience asked, well, shouldn't we guide drivers? Because th this particular person said, if I see that warning, what am I supposed to do? Get on the shoulder, stop, look around. Um, and that's a topic that I think we're gonna have to address, not just as a DOT, but it also involves driver training and whatnot. When you see a wrong way driver, what should you do? A gentleman from Utah that was there in the summit says that they are hesitant on providing such guidance because they don't want the liability. But I think that some guidance would probably be better than none because at least the warning is intended to make the driver vigilant. But yeah, it could lend to some erratic behavior too.
yes. Kirk, you want to add anything there?
I think it depends on the situation. I can't give advice on how to avoid a wrong way driver, but I would immediately contact the highway patrol, 911, and get that driver off the road as soon as possible before he kills somebody.
Yeah. And I can tell you real quick, when I saw the drivers, those two incidents, coming at us, my family, uh, even though the vehicle appeared to be far away, I hesitated to immediately go to a shoulder, right or left, but I eventually did make the decision to go to a shoulder and stop. And the driver just kept going and then collided head on with a vehicle upstream from me. So anyway, thank you both uh, for the presentation. The question I have for you, Michael, is regarding the piercing nozzles. Do you offhand know how many fire rescue apparatus, how many piercing nozzles they carry on a fire engine? And if you don't know, that's okay. We can find out.
Yeah, I don't know specifically. All I know, I've in the past couple months within Boston, I've heard them call for engine 22. So it must be on that one apparatus for sure. I don't know about any others. I can get the information though.
Okay. Well, thank you. Let's see. Well, Sharon earlier had made the comment about the signage and people panicking. Obviously, in a tunnel with a fire incident going on, it's obvious that motorists are going to panic, and there's no getting around that. But the better the signage and the guidance system, whatever it may be, will help. So we have 6 minutes left. And one thing I want to make sure to ask of we still have just under 100 participants on the webinar right now. If you have any thoughts or suggestions, ideas for presentations. If you're doing something different in your state, your municipality, that is obviously TIM related, we want to hear from you. And please share. Send me an email, what have you, and we'll definitely consider you presenting at a future Talking TIM webinar. These Talking TIM webinars have been just greatly, how should I say, received. And the presenters, such as those here today, are fantastic and work hard to bring you the latest information regarding whatever the technology or problem it is that they're dealing with. So obviously, crashes never cease, day or night, and we're all in this together. And I want to make sure that we continue to bring high quality products and presentations and services, ideas, what have you, to the community. Another thing is definitely share, if you don't already, share the information regarding Talking TIM, the NOCO website, where you can register to be notified to participate in the Talking TIM webinars. So with 3 minutes left, any parting comments from either you, Kirk, Michael, Tomas? I don't see the lieutenant. I think he had to drop. But yeah, any last minute comments?
Nothing from my end. Thank you.
Jim, I just wanted to thank you all and for putting together this information. I think it's very important to get the word out and to share best practices across the states and learn from each other's experiences. And you guys are doing a fantastic job in doing that. So thank you for your efforts, Vaishali.
Yeah.
And you.
Yeah, thank you, Kirk. Absolutely important. So give you back a couple minutes. How about that? And to echo Kirk, thank you to Michael and the lieutenant, Tomas and Kirk, and of course, Vaishali Shaw, my contractor that supports these webinars for me and does a great job. And for sure, Kevin Vita from the National Operations Center of Excellence. Take advantage of these links that you see here on the slide. And please, please, please keep in touch. If there's anything you want to talk, reach out. So with that, God bless, take care, and bye for now. Stay safe.